Hello, everybody, and welcome to Unapologetics Live. I'm Brantley, and let me cut that. Okay, I found this. I found this documentary. I don't feel like I should call it that. It's not a documentary. It's a YouTube video. And it's I don't know, it's about the end times. It's called End Times Productions, and they do this it's called 666 in the last generation of humans, which we're always, somehow just constantly in the last generation of humans. So let's give it a little go here.
From the eternal sea he rises, creating armies on either shore, turning man against his brother, till man exists no more. The book of Revelations predicted it all.
Judgment is unleashed upon the empire of the beast. And at the end of this, Jesus, the Son of Man, returns to the earth with the armies of heaven to confront the beast at Armageddon.
This guy looks exactly like a villain in a Jason Statham movie of some sort. Like, I'm just saying, like, he looks like he's about to check the door, the peephole, and get his ass kicked through the door.
The armies of the beast are post-human legions, and they're operating advanced technology. It is a kinetic, and there's a lot to be said. But the point here is that my name is Timothy Albrino, and you are watching End Times Productions.
Cool.
Jesus said that the end of the age, which is the age in which we now live, the age of Pisces.
Sure. What? Pisces?
Would be like the days of Noah. And he said that people would be eating and drinking and marrying and given in marriage, and then destruction would come suddenly. But there's also...
And that's never happened anywhere, ever. That's something that's never happened once. People eating, drinking, and being merry, and then having something bad happen. It's never happened.
I want to use the word inconspicuous, I'll say it. But there's also an inconspicuous allusion there to other things that were happening in the days of Noah, namely the advent of the Watchers and the giants. So at the end of the age, I believe that we will see, to some degree, a repeat of the events that transpired before the flood of Noah.
Which were what?
We will see
the fucking Nephilim,
the birthright of mankind usurped by hybrid beings.
Holy shit, he's just talking about
the same way that it was usurped in the Genesis 6 affair. But this time, it's not just going to be a group of watchers, in my opinion, who copulate with human women and produce hybrid sons who take dominion of the earth. Rather, this time it's going to be the dragon and his angels.
So we're gonna have half dragon. Hold on, we're gonna have fucking half dragon people. That'd be awesome. I mean, I'm not against it. I'm not, be kind of Star Trek-ish, just saying.
Who copulate with them and who procreate through them human hybrid offspring who will become the kings and rulers of the earth. I believe that this this is very complicated and we don't have to get into the details. I do go into them in my book. I believe that this
documentary, man, we're supposed to be going
is
over
illustrated
details.
In the dragon and the beast from Revelation, the seven-headed dragon and the seven-headed beast from the book of Revelation, the dragon standing on the shore of the sea, presiding over the rise of the beast. The beast basically mirrors the dragon, seven heads, and so forth. And I believe, again, it's very complicated. It's detailed in the book, but I believe this is indicative of the fact that the dragon and his princes are going to procreate with human women, hybrid kings who are going to govern the earth for a time, usurp dominion of the earth from the sons of Adam. They're going to be human enough to appropriate the birthright of Adam. That's the key. That's why they have to be hybrids. That's why they had to be hybrids with the Watchers. That's why they have to be hybrids at the end of the age. They have to be human enough to appropriate the authority, the dominion, to to appropriate the dominion of Adam, the birthright of Adam.
What the fuck is that?
And
What the
they're
hell
going
is
to usurp dominion of the earth, and they're going to rule for a time. This is, of course, the Antichrist and his empire at the end of the age. He's going to preside over a post-human paradigm on planet Earth. In other words, the majority of the citizens of his empire are no longer going to be human. So while we're losing our humanity, the devil and his angels
They're
are
gaining it.
procreating hybrid children that
Yeah.
can assume the governance of the earth, legally appropriate the birthright of mankind, so that they can do exactly what the Watchers did. They can govern the earth. And
Well, based on our yeah, so it's the bill. It's HR 7392. It's it's legal now. It's legal for dragon babies. That's the normal thing.
and the dragon and his angels rule by proxy from behind the
Does he mean
thrones
like
of their
hold on?
hybrids.
Does he mean like God? Like it's legal to God? Like God's like, yeah, I guess I'll let this go. Okay, I'll make that legal. There. What is happening? What are you talking about?
Sons, and I
Oh,
believe
that's
that the
funny.
devil doesn't do this until he knows he has a short time.
Fuck, I don't know.
Because when this transaction, when this transgression happens, he knows he has a short time. Because
he probably has
the
both
mechanisms
somehow.
of
I don't know.
judgment will be put into motion, will be set into motion, just like before the flood. He knows that. So this is the final card he's going to play at the end of the age. So I concur with many others, many of my colleagues who believe that the Antichrist
This guy,
will in fact be.
this guy has like the exact opposite tactic I do. It's just like my tactic is sound stupid, but learn as much as I possibly can. This guy's like sound smart, but be as stupid as you possibly can.
The hybrid son of the dragon with a human woman. And furthermore, I propose that the 10 kings who are reigning at the end of the age are also going to be hybrid kings. And the reason why I believe that is because, and again, we won't go into all the details, they are in the book, is because of Nebuchadnezzar's dream of the statue. That had the different segments of the statue were cast in different metals, and
the metals all represent
the
kingdoms.
bottom, the final empire that will rule the earth before the kingdom of the Son of God.
Yeah, because there's 3 kingdoms, right? And so what he's talking about is there's I want to say 3 kingdoms, and then the 4th is supposed to be the like the end of days, right? But the 3 kingdoms that they're talking about are like 1,000 years ago, like 3,000. And even then, when it was written, it's in the Old Testament, all that was in Hebrew was the actual nonsense of the dream, right? And then you have a language that did not exist for, I want to say, like hundreds of years after the Hebrew, and it was like the Aramaic, and it was translating the dream. And then, of course, since then, it's all been put into English, and so they can't tell. Like it looks like it predicted the future, but it didn't predict the future. It was like added after those kingdoms had already become kingdoms and stuff. And so they updated the Bible basically, and then put it. And people love to point to the 4 kingdoms of Daniel to be like, oh man, it's prophecies fulfilled, but it's not. It was written way later, and it was just trying to look like it had predicted the future correctly, but it didn't. It was just the nonsense. And then they attributed a bunch of the stuff to kingdoms, and it didn't even make sense half the time. One of them was like silver, and they're like, oh, because this kingdom used silver, and it's like all the fucking kingdoms in that area used silver. Genius. It has nothing to do with that. Like, what are you talking about? Like, everybody used that type of metal. It made no sense.
Destroys it, crushes it, pulverizes it, which is what happens to the statue. That final empire is a hybrid empire. It's the feet of the statue, which are made of iron mixed with clay.
Yeah.
It's a hybridized empire. And how many toes do a normal pair of feet have?
I don't know, man. You tell me. I have no idea.
How many kings arise at the end of the age?
Maybe
10.
you think they have 12. I don't fucking know.
10 hybrid kings, just like the 5 hybrid twins of Poseidon, who ruled over Atlantis. There's going to be hybrid kings.
That sounded like that was supposed to be like a big, like, whoa moment. Like, but I have no fucking idea what the hell he's talking about.
Offspring of the dragon and his angels, the dragon princes, who are going to govern the earth at the end of the age, who are going to usurp the dominion of mankind, the birthright of Adam, so that the earth is once again thrown into this dystopic nightmare that was the antediluvian age. It's going to mirror that. And there's going to be no hope for humanity because their birthright has been usurped and they can't get it back because the majority of mankind is going to be in a post-human condition. Not all of mankind. There will be a remnant who are not.
Holy
But the
shit.
majority
This is
of
like this like every time I missed the bus downtown and there's a guy drinking out of a paper bag and I'm like, oh, fuck, I got to sit here for an hour. And then this happens right here. This conversation. It's not a conversation, and I get that, but that's exactly what happens at the bus stop when that fucking happens. One-sided conversation that sounds exactly like this shit. The fucking bus stop.
Mankind would have transitioned into a post-human condition. And this is why I believe that that in the book of Revelation, when John is in heaven and he's beholding this vision of heaven, and he's standing there and he sees the Father sitting on the throne, and the Father has a scroll in his right hand. And an angel is proclaiming in a loud voice, "Who is worthy to take the scroll and open its seals?" Who is worthy?
You're just quoting
to take the scroll from the right hand of the Father and open its seals. And no one was found worthy in heaven or on earth to take the scroll and break its seals. And John says, and I wept bitterly. And I always was perplexed.
Like that, the way he's talking, we're all just like, wow, man. And he wept. He wept. Did you hear that? That's, man. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. No, you just sound crazy.
Why
man.
is John weeping over this scroll? It doesn't make any sense. Why is this scroll eliciting this deep, profound emotion from John? Why? Because that scroll is the deed of the earth. It's the birthright. It's the deed.
So he's just
because mankind has lost.
God, it's so crazy how people can just read, and it's complete jibber jabber nonsense. Like I've watched so many of these end times things that I know what they're talking about, but it's complete fucking nonsense. But it's so fun to hear, because like now he's going off script, right? Now he's going into it's the birthright or whatever. That was the scroll. The Bible doesn't say that. It doesn't say anything. It just says that they couldn't open the fucking scroll, and everybody starts crying and whatever. And then finally, Jesus shows up or whatever the fuck, and then he can break the scroll, and then angels are happy about it or whatever. I don't know. I can't remember exactly, but like it's just funny when they start adding their own. Oh, why is that? Because the birthright to the world. What the fuck? It's just so funny.
Dominion of the earth. They have forfeited the birthright because they transitioned out of Adam and into a post-human condition, and the dragon, the offspring of the dragon, has usurped it.
Damn.
And it's a hopeless situation, just like in Genesis 6. And John is weeping because he's looking at the nightmare unfolding on the earth, and nobody is worthy. And why isn't anybody worthy?
Because they're not.
Because
Jesus.
Only a son of Adam can take the scroll.
Oh, because we're not human anymore. Got it.
It's the birthright of mankind.
Sure,
only a son of Adam can open that scroll.
Yeah.
And John is weeping because nobody has the authority to do it. But the angel says to him,
because we're half dragon.
Do not weep. For the Lamb of God, or something to this effect, has triumphed. And he is able to take the scroll. And so John sees a lamb that looked like it had been slain, and he took the scroll because he was worthy to take the scroll. And he began to break its seal. So what are we seeing here? This is what we're seeing. Even if there is not a single son of Adam left on planet Earth, there is still a son of Adam seated at the right hand of the Father.
You're gonna have to speed this. I have to put this at
Jesus
2x because this is fucking
Is our
holy
kinsman
shit.
redeemer. He is a human being. And because he is a human being, because he is a son of Adam, he is worthy. He has the authority to take the birthright of Adam, the deed of mankind, the dominion of the earth that was given to Adam. He is a rightful heir of that authority. He is worthy to take that scroll and break its seals.
It's so weird. It's like, you know what it reminds me of? It's like they had the budget for just the one shot of a documentary. So you can sit right here, though. You can sit right here. But and it's just like, oh no, I'm still going. And they're like, but we got to like show some. No. I'm still talking. Okay, this documentary is going to be a one shot documentary. That's
And that is exactly what he does. And he begins to break the seals. And as each seal is broken, judgment is unleashed upon the empire of the beast. And at the end of this, Jesus, the Son of Man, returns to the earth with the armies of heaven to confront the beast at Armageddon. This is a kinetic war. The armies of the beast are post-human.
I love it when they just start.
And they're operating.
Kinetic war? What is that? I've never heard of that kind of war. Okay, like the kind of energy.
Operating advanced technology. It is a kinetic war, and there's a lot to be said there. But the point here is that,
I bet.
like the late Russ
Have to read
Dizdar
the
used to
book.
say, Jesus is the hero of humanity. He takes back dominion of the earth for the offspring of Adam.
Cheers. They couldn't fit any lighting in their budget. They spent it all on hair gel and wall paint. Like, give me a nice purple. Can you do the purple for the back? What do you mean you don't have purple paint? We'll go buy some. Sherwin-Williams, right down the street. Come on. Get on this
Because
shit.
he is a son of man. Remember when Jesus said, all authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. Why? Because as the Son of God,
Why do you
he
keep
has all
asking
authority
why?
in heaven. And as the Son of Man, he has all authority on earth.
Okay.
And that is why he is worthy to take the scroll. And that is why only he can rescue humanity.
He's like keeps on saying stuff like it's so profound, but he's just saying like Christian, like normal Christian shit, like because he's fucking Jesus. That's why. And he's like, because he's got the authority over the earth. Yeah, we get that because he's fucking Jesus. Yup. None of this is like special or new to anybody that knows anything about this type of stuff. But he's saying it like it's so fucking like he just shat that out of his head. And he's like, oh man, that's genius.
From the nightmare that's going to unfold at the end of the age. And that
Stop
is
taking
precisely what he
shrooms,
does.
man.
He returns to the earth and he vanquishes the beast and the armies of the beast. And he sets up his kingdom. And he rules and he reigns from his father's throne, from David's throne. So this is the scene at the end of the age. And so I believe that what this speaks to, what this bespeaks, is a scenario in which mankind has lost his
Am I too loud?
Lost dominion of the earth in the same
before.
way that he lost it during the Genesis 6 affair. Hybrids are ruling the earth, the offspring of the dragon and his princes. And they are assembling an army against the King of Heaven to make war with him. Because this is exactly what they do, by the way. This is Psalm 2. This kinetic war with God, with the Son of God, the returning king, the rightful heir of his father's throne on earth, throne of David, which is, by the way, the throne of Adam. The rightful ruler of earth, this war that's going to break out at the end of the age.
Oh, okay.
Kinetic war.
I was like, I do get loud sometimes, so I just want to make sure.
Armies of the beast and the armies of the kingdom returning to the earth. Christ returning, the second advent, is portrayed in Psalm 2. Why do the nations rage and the people plot a vain thing? What is the vain thing that the people are plotting? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together. That's two separate groups. The
What?
kings of the earth and the rulers. And we'll talk about that in a minute. The kings of the earth set themselves,
that's not
and
a
the
normal-
rulers take counsel together. That's two separate groups. The kings and the rulers.
Are you sure?
Against
'Cause
the
it sounds like
Lord
they're using...
and against his anointed, saying, this is what they're plotting.
It's just like...
Let us break their bonds.
He's taking a completely unrelated verse that seems to be talking about like kings being the rulers, because you know kings and rulers are almost synonymous, and he's like, no, that's two different things, because I need that for my thing. I need that to be two things for my thing to make sense.
in
Jeez.
pieces and cast away their cords from us. In other words, they're saying, we will not have this man rule over us. We will not submit to the King of Heaven. The response from the Father, he who
Kill
sits in the
everybody.
heavens
Just kill him.
shall laugh.
You're just gonna kill everybody.
The Lord shall hold them in derision. Then he shall speak to them in his wrath and distress them in his deep displeasure. Look what he says.
Well, originally it was a dinosaur with 7 heads. But they're like, that makes too much sense. No, can we just dragon? Okay, can we just...
Yet I have
Does it
set
actually exist? We don't
my
want, you know.
king on my holy hill of Zion. In other words, he's saying to the Antichrist, to the man of sin, who I believe will be named Apollo, son of Satan, you think that you will be the Lord of the earth, that you will occupy
hold
the
on.
throne of Adam.
So he has things that just he thinks too. What is all the rest of this then? Stuff that he's like, oh no, I know that stuff for a fact. I just think his name will be Apollo because, you know, I'm a big fan of the Rocky movies, and Apollo's, man, he, you know. Jeez.
But I am going to set my son on that throne. And this is the prelude to Armageddon. And so I always tell people, Armageddon is not merely a war with Israel. Armageddon is a war, is
The Illuminati caught on to
a
us.
battle.
They figured out we're watching this, and so they have to contact the internet gods and be like, yeah, you gotta slow it down. You gotta slow it down.
It is not merely a war with Israel. Armageddon is a war with God. It
That's
is
him. Yep.
a war,
Antichrist.
a battle against the King of Heaven. It is a preemptive strike against the King who is returning to take back dominion of the earth for the offspring of Adam. That's what Armageddon is at the end of the age. And it's a kinetic war. That means
What does that
it's
mean?
a physical war. It's a technological conflict. And of course, Christ vanquishes his enemies at Armageddon and returns with the armies of heaven in train. So that is the culmination of where all of this is going. That's where transhumanism is headed. It's headed to a post-human condition on planet Earth. Why? Because
But ask him why. None
just
of it.
like Esau, we are going to
So sick.
trade our birthright, sell our birthright, dominion of the earth, for a bowl of stew. And what is that bowl of stew? You shall become.
I might have to. There's this old story. Fuck, what were their names? Anyway, it was like the two sons, and one of them was like had red hair or something. And then the other one didn't, like Isaac and no. Fuck, I can't think of what their names were. But anyway, the one sells his birthright. That's what he's talking about. The one sells his birthright, and his story makes no fucking sense because it's like the one guy's like starving and doesn't have anything, and that's technically on God for not letting him like catch any fish or whatever. And then he like goes to and then he sells his birthright so that he doesn't starve because he's starving, you know. And then he's the bad guy in the fucking story somehow. It makes no sense. It's such a backwards ass fucking story. And then he goes and pretends to be him with Abraham when he like puts hair on his arms. But the other guy's the bad guy. It was so ridiculous. It made no sense. Dude.
Like the gods. Forfeit the biological trademarks of Adam that make you human. Forfeit those trademarks.
Like what?
Transition into a post-human condition, and you will have extended life, impervious to disease, all the things that go
about,
along
like,
with being transhuman.
What do we call that in like the singularity or whatever? Where you upload into compute, like Chappie, like the end of Chappie or whatever, right? And then we're all just gonna be like floating around inside a computer, all just our personalities and experiences just floating around inside a computer, living forever. Is that what he's talking about, or is he talking about fucking just Esau? Thank you, yeah, Jacob and Esau. That's it. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's like but I don't know if that's what he's talking about, or if he's just talking about like wearing glasses. Glasses is technically transhumanist. Like, you know, it helps you see. Are we talking augmented reality, virtual reality? Like, what do we, you know, he never gets into anything really specific. It's just like saying his ravings about like what he thinks the story means, I guess, or the end times or whatever.
I mean, you will become like the gods. And who are the gods that you will become like? Just like in Genesis 6, the gods will be walking among men. And those gods are going to be the hybrid offspring of the dragon and his princes. And the beast, Apollo, what does he do? Because the dragon imbues Apollo, his son, with his authority.
It's funny. You can see he starts to lean forward, and then he goes out of focus, and you can see, like, you could tell somebody's like that, and he's like like gets back into like, stop moving out of the fucking frame, man. Like you're not doing it right. Like, stop. We only got one shot in this whole movie. Stop messing it up.
And what does the beast do in turn? What does the son do? He causes men to worship the dragon. This is Genesis 6 all over again. It's the Watchers and their sons, but this time it's the dragon and his son, the dragon princes and their sons. This is a different topic, but I believe that there are, in fact, 7 dragon princes. But so they're imbuing their sons with their authority, and their sons are leading mankind to worship them.
Do we now go off
to worship their fathers, the dragons?
Hold on. Do we just sidestep into a whole nother thing now? Is he explaining the different story? I am so lost. This is the most confusing.
The angelic reprobates who have made war with God. And so this is a scenario very much like Genesis 6 to come full circle, as in the days of Noah. This is very much like
you're not
Genesis
full circle.
6.
You've been saying this the whole time.
Faustian.
You just keep repeating it. You're not full circle. You haven't. I don't think you understand what full circle means. Like,
bargain
album,
again to legally usurp dominion of the earth from mankind at the end of the age. And remember what it says regarding the beast. He is permitted to rule for a short time. Permitted by whom? By God.
By God, yeah.
Just as the offspring of the Watchers, the giants, were permitted to rule for a short time because they have legally usurped
he really likes that
the birthright of mankind
and the legally thing.
They have done it.
The birthright thing. I think that's
legally.
The fifth time,
just like the Watchers in Genesis 6. And so what follows is you reap what you sow, and mankind is going to reap what they sow. They're going to forfeit the birthright of Adam by becoming post-human, and when they give it up,
it's weird. God damn, this dude is insane. But you just said that God allowed it to happen, and they're like, but they reap what they sow, though. It's all their fault, and they're gonna fucking pay for it because they deserve it. They deserve it. And it's like, you just said that God did the thing. But yeah, but you know, he's God, okay? Like, he can do whatever he wants. We're the ones that get punished. Jesus.
When they relinquish it, somebody else is going to seize it. And that somebody else has to be human enough to appropriate that birthright. And that is why they have to be hybrids. Human mothers, but their fathers are the dragon princes.
Dragon Prince. Cool. Yeah.
There's
that's what I was-
reasons why
that's
things are
exactly
happening
what I
at the end
said.
of the age. You
Yep.
don't just, the kingdom of heaven is a kingdom of order. It's not chaos, it's order. You can't just do
Yeah.
whatever you want. The devil does not have free reign.
Yeah, that's sort of their thing, man. They're just making crap up. Yup.
To do whatever he wants. People say the devil cheats. No, he doesn't. There's no such thing as cheating in the kingdom of heaven. You have to play by the rules. And that's what the devil does. He plays by the rules. When he came against Israel, he could never just
hold on. You're not making a great case for your God. So so all of this is according to the rules, right? And we suffer. We of course get tortured and whatever out of all this. But it's Satan doesn't cheat because you can't cheat in this game because God's in control of everything. God's the good guy. What? How? What is happening?
wipe Israel out. All he could do was get Israel to sin against God, to offend God. And then what would happen? God would wipe Israel out in judgment. The devil had no power to do that. All he had was the power to tempt. And that's what he does at the end of the age. That's what transhumanism is. It's the bowl of stew. We're coming to the end of our genetic rope, as I said in the beginning. We only have...
That's good.
We have this technology at the same time that is just coincidentally in place for us to transition out of Adam. It's
Out of Adam.
In my book, I call it the pitfall of posthumanism. It's a trap. It's a trap.
It's a trap.
To transition us out of Adam.
It's my
to transition us out of our birthright, to get us to willfully relinquish dominion of the earth. Meanwhile, the hybrid sons of the dragon are usurping it. That is what's happening at the end of the age. And that's what I try to convey in the book. That's, so everything we've talked about today, everything is in the book, is in Birthright, in much more detail. Okay. And I try to be very scholarly with it. And I provide a whole lot of scriptural references all the way through all these.
I'm sure it's going to be very, very scholarly. Probably, it probably is even in Google Scholar, if you put it Google Scholar and look up this fucking guy. It's like, oh yeah, here it is. It's got sources.
Things that I'm saying, there's references that back all of this up, or at least from my perspective. I'm not saying everything I'm saying is right, but at least I provide what I believe are references, are scriptural references and historical references that undergird the things I'm saying. That's all provided in the book. And all of these concepts are expounded with much more detail. And what I try to do is to tell that story from beginning to end. Again, that story that began to ruminate in my heart back in the Amazon and came out of me when I was writing.
Sounds like you're doing a lot of ruminating.
And I believe that it's a very timely book, because we are in fact living at the beginning of the end of the age. And that doesn't mean that the end of the age is tomorrow. In fact, I believe we can calculate. And in fact, by calculating the end of the age, I mean we can calculate the number of the beast, which we're told to do in Revelation. The number of the beast is not 666 or 666.
It's not.
The number of the beast is the number of a man, 6. Why is the number of a man 6? Because God created man on the 6th day. The number of the man is 6. So it's not 666 or 666. Well, it is 666, but it's not 666 as a whole number.
This is apophenia running fucking muck. Holy shit. It's just like, where can I find connections and nothing? Let me just do that real quick. Let me just find there's connection right there. Look, 6. It's a number. 6 day, 6 what? Yeah, nailed it. Like,
it's 6.
Jesus.
6, 6. So when you have 3 numbers like that, 6, and 6, and you're told to calculate those numbers, what do you do? And it
reminds me of back in the day, like when I used to take stuff and be thinking about the end times, it's all connected. Yeah, no, he needs to stop taking that shit. Like, you sure you didn't accidentally macro dose? Like, Jesus Christ. Probably thinks that working at an Amazon warehouse means he was in the Amazon. Yeah, I spent some time in the Amazon. Oh yeah, that's dangerous out. It was hot. It was hot. Well, they didn't have air conditioning. Like, yeah, because it's the Amazon food. No, because it's Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos is cheap. That's all. And we had the peanut jars. What?
It's universal, by the way. Mathematics, universal across the globe. When you have three numbers like that and you calculate them, you always multiply them. 6 times 6 times 6, 216, which is a derivative of 2,160, which is the exact number of years that it takes to complete one age, one processional age, which is how the ancients measured
Holy
the
shit.
ages.
None of this is anything. Like, none of this makes any. But what? Like, what is an age? Is there a thing like in the Bible? It's like this is the. Is he? It's like he's taking these generalized words and he's like, okay, that's specifically this many years. It's just an age. I don't know, some number of years. That's like what an age is.
His birth corresponded with the age of Pisces. Again, inaugurating the age of Pisces. That's why Jesus was represented fish. Because the fish is the symbol of Pisces.
Oh,
and the
man.
early Christian.
He's going to piss off so many Christians. He's talking fucking astrology now, mixing it in. Because, Jesus is the fish, the Pisces thing. Damn. Are Pisces fit? I don't know anything about astrology. I know mine is really weird. Because it's a Gemini. I don't know. It's two guys holding hands, I guess, which is fine. I'm totally. I hold hands with guys sometimes. So it makes sense. But it's just what is Pisces a fish? I don't know.
Knew that the age of Pisces had been inaugurated with the birth of the Son of God, with the birth of the Messiah.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And so Pisces, the fish, became the symbol of Christ in the early church. It was the age of Christ, the age of Pisces. Jesus said at the end of the age.
I don't know how much you know about this, but does it correspond to like December? Is that where Pisces is? And he thinks that he was actually born in December? Because that would be really funny if that were the case. But I don't know when Pisces is. But just say it. That would be really funny.
What age was he referring to? This one. This age, the one in which he was born.
Oh, that's
at the end of this age.
Okay.
These things would happen. And then in Revelation, calculate the number of the beast. 666. 6 times 6 times 6. 216. Again, in the ancient world, you could take that zero off and it still represents the same number. 2,160. It's the duration of a precessional age. So literally the beast, when is the beast going to arise?
Yeah.
At the end of the age of Pisces. When is the end of the age of Pisces? 2,160 years from the inauguration of the age of Pisces, from the birth of Christ, who was born sometime around 4 BC. So you calculate from the birth of Christ, 2,160 years, we're in the year 2022. So you add on the 4 BC, because Jesus wasn't born on 1 AD, he was born probably around 4 to 5 BC. So that puts us around really 2026 or thereabouts. So 2026, 25 years since the birth of Christ, and an age has 2,160 years. We're getting pretty close, but it's not tomorrow, right? People get mad at me for saying that, but it's not tomorrow. It's at the end of the age of Pisces.
Why do you think everybody wants Aquarius? It's like if you predict it, it's got to be tomorrow. Like what? What are you talking about? Like you're still predicting a year that's gonna come and go, man. And everybody's gonna be like, "See, man, that's why you don't fucking do that." He's like, "But it wasn't the tomorrow when I said it, though. It wasn't the next. It wasn't the following day." Like, yeah, that's not really an argument that makes any sense, man. That's
so. And what's really fascinating is that you have Yuval Noah Harari out there, the famous proponent of transhumanism who's like this,
Oh.
who's like the spokesperson for the global elite as it pertains to transhumanism. And Harari is out there saying that we are the last generation of Homo sapiens. He says 100 to 200 years from now, the Earth will be populated by post-human species. Is it coincidental that Harari's projections correspond to the end of the age?
There are no coincidences. There are no coincidences. And technology, humans using technology to better themselves and stuff. I mean, that's going to change your, that's going to make you into dragon people, of course. I mean, that's just, we already know. I mean, you're telling us stuff we already know, man. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. I already knew that this created dragon babies, but you can continue though.
And Armageddon and the beast making war with God, the post-human army, it's not coincidental that at the end of the age, even according to these futurists, so if we're in, let's say 2025 years from the birth of Christ, and
man, he's gonna get stuck on the numbers. Like 2020, 25, 20, 26. Well, it's really 24. Well, hold on. 10 to the 29. Well, why are you guys looking at me? What's happening? What?
The age isn't until 2160 years. Then Harari's prediction about the end of humanity and the rise of a post-human species puts us right at the end of the age when we know the beast is coming, according to the calculation of the number of the beast. 6 times 6 times 6. So this whole thing of 666 is it's 6 times 6 times 6. See, it's the precessional number of an age, the age of Pisces. We know when the beast will arise at the age of Pisces.
It's like the number 23, except it's not. Except it's all just nothing, like nonsense. Or like the movie Pi, It's like, he just keeps on. Oh, I can't believe that number came out of nowhere. Yeah, that's the nature of numbers, man.
So,
Jesus.
Are we at the end of the age? Yes, we are. We're at the beginning of the end of the age. And in the end of these ages is always a very chaotic, disruptive, transitional period. And we're already beginning to get into the rumblings of this disruption. And so everything is like culminating toward the end of the age of Pisces.
So it was I feel like there were more chaotic times in the past. I feel like than now. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's pretty chaotic, but we had world wars, man. 2 of them. I mean, really? You don't? I don't know.
This isn't astrology. This is astronomy. And this is how the ancients calculated the ages, including the ancient Hebrews, who used the Mazzaroth, and the Mazzaroth was the zodiac. This is not astrology, making predictions about your life and so forth. That's astrology. This is astronomy. And indeed,
astrology is anything that has to do with any of the things that you're literally mentioning right now, Pisces and fucking zodiacs and all this shit. Astronomy is actual science about the stars. Did they, back in the day, were they the same or similar? Yeah, I think so, because that's they studied them a lot for mapping reasons. I mean, I'm sure Troy could probably correct me on this if I'm wrong, but they use it for mapping when you're in the ocean and stuff like that, and just other things too. But and then they also tried to say that they predicted the future too. But all of that was astrology. But astronomy doesn't have Pisces in it, and that's not a thing that astronomy has.
Say to confirm this position for those who don't think that using these kinds of predictions based on precession of the equinox and so forth is biblically valid, I would challenge people with something that nobody yet that I'm aware of has realized regarding the birth of Christ. So the birth of Christ corresponded with the age of Pisces, the inauguration of the age of Pisces.
Okay, so when is
most
that?
people don't realize
So December 25th?
Is that there is a prophecy in the Old Testament that tells us exactly when Christ would be born.
Oh my good God!
And
it's not even that.
So
this is another date that he just pulled out of his ass. by claiming that the Old Testament like said that like the exact date of when Jesus would be born.
The astronomers from
Wow, man.
the East, the wise men from the East,
If
knew
you could be
that Christ.
like, if you could be this, like, I just hate that he's this smart about something this stupid. You know, like if we could have just put half the brain power that he's putting into this shit into like curing cancer or something that matters. Jesus Christ, man, do something else with your poor fucking brain.
Was born, and this is part of the reason why the great king, the eternal king, had been born, because they were watching the sky. These astronomers, these ancient Middle Eastern astronomers, I should say, these Near Eastern, ancient Near Eastern astronomers. There's a story in the Old Testament, very famous story of Abraham and Isaac, in which Abraham takes Isaac to sacrifice. Make a sacrifice to God. And Abraham doesn't realize that the sacrifice is going to be his son, his only son, his beloved son. And when he finds out that...
Why is he saying this like it's a beautiful thing? He's going to murder his son. Oh, his beloved. He's going to murder him and then light his body on fire. So God will be a smidge happier. I don't...
sacrifice that God is requiring of him is his only son, his beloved son, his only begotten son.
Oh.
So Abraham takes his, as the story goes, Abraham is told to go and make a sacrifice to Yahweh. And he had to go and make this sacrifice on Mount Moriah. And so he was told to take his son Isaac and go make a sacrifice. And of course, originally they're thinking, oh, we're going to go and we don't have anything to sacrifice. What are we going to sacrifice? But God wants us to sacrifice something. And of course, Abraham realizes that sacrifice was going to be his son.
What kind of fucking mind fuck shit is this? Where you're just like, oh, God will figure it out. Well, the voice in my head told me I gotta go kill something. We don't have something to kill, but I'm bringing my son with, but God will provide. The voice in my head will fix it. And then he gets there to do it. And he's like, you know what? Look at that ram right over. You know what the ram right over there probably means? It means I should sacrifice that ram. See, that was a close one, wasn't it? Izzy. Is that Izzy? Can we? I don't know. What's the shorthand for Isaac?
But because Abraham was faithful to God, and he knew that God had given him that son, because Abraham's wife was barren, apparently, and God brought her womb to life miraculously to produce Abraham's son, his promised son. Remember, God had promised the son to Abraham. And what I'm trying to do right now is to cause people to make the connections between Abraham's promised son and the promised son of the Father, Jesus, right?
Yeah, we get that. Son. Yeah, that's not
so
difficult.
Because that's what this story is depicting. It's a play acting. It's play acting the gospel. Yeah. It's predicting the gospel. It's predicting the gospel.
Did they not do any editing?
So Abraham,
he's like, what was I talking? He sounds like me doing a podcast. Wait, shit, what were you talking about a thing? What? Except I can edit sometimes, on the audio one.
And takes his son up to the mountain and, of course, prepares the altar. And when it's time to make the sacrifice, Isaac says, where's the sacrifice? And you can imagine, where's the animal that we're going to sacrifice? And you can imagine Abraham with tears streaming down his face. You're the sacrifice. And Isaac loved God, loved the God of his father. And just like a lamb, of course, again, drawing parallels to Jesus, like a lamb going to slaughter, willingly submitted himself to this sacrifice. Okay. So he lays him down on the altar.
It always reminds me of that really weird line of, because, like sacrifice, they like put you and they like kill you and then burn you, right? And it always just reminds me of that part at the end of Die Hard when he's just like, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to cook you, and I'm going to fucking eat you. That line's in there too. Listen for it at the very end. So
and
funny.
and Abraham raises his hand to plunge his knife into his son's heart so that he can become a burnt offering. Just as Abraham is about to plunge this knife into Isaac, he hears a voice. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Stop. And
Yeah, he's
Abraham.
dude, this dude's not well. So Andrew said, I'm starting to question his mental health now, his special knowledge, the pattern recognition of things that aren't patterns, his rocking back and forth, his occasional shouting. All of this is telltale signs of major mental health issues that need to be checked out. This is why it just bothers me so much when people are always like, they start connecting, like, oh, you know, that more like the queer community and atheist community and stuff like that. Oh, they have worse mental health problems, right? Because they report going to a therapist, right? They report that they do go to a therapist on like these polls and whatnot. And but the reason that looks like we have more mental health issues is because they're not going. Like that should actually be the opposite. You know, the fact that we are going to get checked for mental health, you know, and actually value mental health should show you that we actually are, our mental health is better, you know, than the people that live their lives like this and like, don't go to mental health, don't go to therapy, go to fucking church, you know. It's like, and that means our mental health is better.
And to his
Drives me
surprise,
crazy.
discovers that God had indeed provided a sacrifice.
Maybe he'll
It
get
was a
there.
ram. And the ram's horn.
He's like, and then RoboCop comes out and says, "You got 3 seconds to comply." Whatever.
Were stuck in the bushes.
What?
Okay, picture this ram with his horns are stuck, and the ram's caught in the bushes.
Yeah.
And obviously, to Abraham's great relief, God had provided a sacrifice, and it wasn't Abraham's son. Of course, it was his son.
The crazy shit. Yeah. Who was the person with the studio and a camera that was like, you know, we got to get this on record. We got to record this shit. Okay. This is some solid stuff. No, you don't need any. No stock fuck stock footage. And your face is stock footage. What we need is it's the camera on his face, blurry or not, and him talking. That's the movie right there. And then he puts his hands up and does that thing. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's what that ram represents. I always wondered about that story, and I thought, Jesus is called the Lamb of God over and over and over. Why was it a ram and not a lamb?
Yeah.
Why was it a ram?
But they rhyme, so there's the connection.
The answer turns out to be very intriguing.
Because it rhymes.
Because that ram with his horns stuck in the bushes was a symbol, an astronomical symbol of when Christ would come, when the sacrifice that God was providing would show up, when his son would come to be the sacrifice for the sins of men. For the sins of
which one is there a ramp? I don't know astrology, man. Like, I know there's a bull. One's a bull, right? I don't know. Is one of them a fucking ram?
World. And how does that prefigure the coming of Christ and pinpoint when Christ will arrive? Because it has to do with the precession of the equinox. And I'm not going to go into the whole precession, but you know, the earth is tilted on an angle and it wobbles, and that wobble, which is very slow, takes 26,000 years to complete a whole precession.
Good point.
Very slowly turning on its axis, and that wobble takes 26,000 years. That's called the Great Year. But the ancients had divided the ages into the signs of the zodiac, 12 signs of the zodiac, and so those were the precessional houses, the ages. Each age was divided into 12 houses, and each one of those periods of time, those ages, were designated by a symbol. Now, people say, well, that's pagan. That's the zodiac.
No,
because the ancient Hebrews had the same exact calendar, but it was called the Mazzaroth. It's the same one. Okay, so it's not pagan.
God damn
Remember
it.
that the book of Genesis says that the stars and the heavenly bodies are given for times and
You're
seasons.
pagan. Your fucking
That's what
face is
we're talking.
pagan.
So, and this gets a little complicated, so I'll try and
Okay, yeah, no,
condense it. But the way that you determine what age you're in
we'll try to follow.
is based on the vernal equinox. And the vernal equinox is the spring equinox. During the spring equinox, when you look due east, the sun rises in the east, sets in the west, right? When you look due east, about an hour before.
Hold on, where's the sun during this? Like, which way is the sun? East, right? Yeah, east. The Muslims do. Oh yeah, that's east. Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, so I remember that in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Yeah, that's right. East. Okay, got it.
Dawn. You will see a constellation hovering on the horizon, right where the sun is going to rise. So you have a constellation is coming up over the horizon, and right behind that constellation is the sun.
No, it's a couple
right
more.
where the sun is going to rise, about an hour or 40 minutes before dawn, you're going to see a constellation sitting on the horizon that's slowly rising. And right behind that constellation is the sun, but the sun has not yet risen. So as the sun rises, and you're looking right where the sun is about to rise, there's going to be a constellation sitting on the horizon that's slowly rising. The sun is coming up right behind it. This is how the ancients determined what age they were in. That constellation corresponds to one of the signs of the zodiac, or the Mazzaroth in Hebrew. That sign delineates the age in which you are currently in. Whatever sign that is, right now, if you look due east on the vernal equinox, you're going to see Pisces, because we are in the age of Pisces. So that's how you determine the age in which you're in.
I'm as lost.
That's the age, the marker of the age. Behind this constellation is the previous age, the sign of the previous age. So that previous age is below the horizon.
Gets burned up by the sun.
And whatever that previous age is, it's being covered as it rises by the sun. The sun is now here, so you can't see that constellation. Okay? It's being consumed in the sun. All right?
Oh,
and the ancients, including the Inca and all different cultures around the world, considered that constellation that's rising covered with the sun to be a sacrificial sign. It's being sacrificed in the sun, in the fire of the sun. Indeed, they would say that it is affixed to the sacrificial post. Why? Because as that constellation rises, you can't see it because the sun is consuming it. So you have the sun consuming the sacrificial sign, right? And above it, you have the sign indicating what age you're in. So
what the fuck is happening?
Going back to the story of Abraham and Isaac.
Oh, good. Yeah, let's go back.
God provides a ram as the sacrifice rather than Isaac for Abraham. So
to summarize,
why is it
the reason it's a ram is because that astrology thing, and then the spring equinox, and when it goes down, that's like it being sacrificed to the sun, and that's the exact time when Jesus was born, or whatever, because he's a sacrificial lamb, but it's a ram, not a lamb. Uncoincidence, not a coincidence. I think not.
Ram. Why is it not a lamb?
The fuck is that?
Jesus is called the Lamb of God over and over again. Why is it not a lamb? Because that ram is a time marker. During the age of Pisces, at the dawning of the age of Pisces, when you looked due east on the vernal equinox, Pisces is rising above the horizon.
Sure. Yep.
Which constellation do you suppose is affixed to the sacrificial post?
Jesus. Jesus.
Aries, the ram.
I was close.
Aries, the ram, is being sacrificed during the age of Pisces.
Okay.
So the ram
that God
had provided to be the
They needed to have somebody like ask clarifying questions, but I feel like they might have tried that like 17 times. Like, all right, fuck, you just go. You just go. I'm not gonna ask any clarifying questions. Just keep going.
Sacrifice that represented his son, Jesus of Nazareth, that would come to be the sacrifice for our sins, which was being play acted in Abraham and Isaac. That ram
Why would
not
God-
only was the sacrifice that Abraham used as the burnt offering, but it was also the zodiacal
Me too,
symbol
yep.
of the age in which the Son of God would appear on the earth as the sacrifice for mankind. And it was a ram. It was Aries. And so, if you were an astronomer
Yeah.
and you understood that story, you would have interpreted it because it was meant to be interpreted. You would have interpreted that story that the sacrifice, the Father's Son, was coming. The sacrifice for our sin was coming at the dawning of the age of Pisces.
Oh, Pisces. Shit.
When the ram, Aries, was affixed to the sacrificial post and being sacrificed by the sun. It was a time marker based on the precession of the equinox. So you would have known had you been an ancient Near Eastern astronomer. And
can you imagine like this guy talking to literally anybody and then being like, whoa, you just blew my mind, bro. Blew my fucking mind, bro. Like, how does he not get just like everybody's just nodding along because they want to go into Walmart now? Like they're like, I actually got to get milk and stuff. Like, Jesus.
Familiar with the story of Abraham and Isaac, you would have known, interpreted that this king, this Son of God, would show up at the dawning of the age of Pisces. When was Christ born? Coincidentally, at the beginning, the inauguration of the age of Pisces. Right on time.
Right on time. Yeah,
right on time.
That's what I said.
As it was prefigured in the sacrifice of the ram in the story of
Prefigured.
Abraham and Isaac. And
You
now there's
can't-
a whole lot of stuff like that all throughout the Bible. See,
You can't
it's
prefigure.
it's astronomical. And when you say astronomical, what you're dealing with is time.
It's big. Oh,
Time.
no. Time.
So
Sure. Yeah. Got
it's
it.
just a beautiful prefiguration, not only of the story of the gospel,
What the fuck is a
but also
prefiguration?
it's a time marker when the Son of God, his beloved son, because God tells Abraham, take your son, your beloved son, right?
Not the
So
one you
God is
hate.
saying, I'm
The
going
other
to
one. No.
provide my beloved son. I'm going to
The other
send
one.
my beloved son to be the sacrifice for your sins. And he's coming, by the way. I'll tell you when he's coming. The age of Pisces. When the age of Pisces, when Pisces is rising above the horizon on the vernal equinox and the ram is being sacrificed in the sun, that's when my son is coming. And Jesus says, at the end of his age, Pisces, the beast is going to rise and all these things are going to happen on the earth. And then in the book of Revelations, calculate the number of the beast and what do we get?
I was wondering why. Look,
6 times 6 times 6 is the
I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time even addressing anything he's saying anymore. I was wondering like why he wasn't lined up with the camera. You know what I mean? Like he's not lined up there. But you can see why, because he keeps on fucking moving back and forth. And so like we're just gonna have to fucking you're just gonna sit off to the side and then lean into the shot. Because you can't seem to not do that.
precessional number of an age. We get 2,160. The beast is coming at the end of the age. God is telling us when all these things are going to happen.
Sure.
Right? But we
only you
don't
can figure it out.
understand because we forgot how to use the celestial timepiece.
It's like God's just sitting up there like, I said that the equinox was it's all in the symbols. How come? Fuck, why is it this? It's only one guy. It's this one guy figured it out. What? I put the symbols in every. Fuck. Everybody should know what's happening, not just this one guy. And everybody seems to keep acting like he's crazy. This is, damn. I guess I should have made it less complicated.
But the astronomers from Mesopotamia didn't forget.
Sure didn't.
They showed up when Christ was born. because they read the signs. And the
'Cause they
dawning
read
of the age of Pisces was just one of the signs. There's some other things going on as well that indicated that Christ was going to be born. And they didn't even know exactly where he was going to be born. They had to get that information from Herod, who said to them, oh, according to the scriptures, Christ was going to be born in Bethlehem. And so what did Herod do? He tried to kill all the children 1 to 3 years old or whatever it was, to eliminate this king, this Messiah who was being born. And of course, that is prefigured, or not prefigured, that is depicted, symbolized in Revelation, in the dragon waiting to devour the man-child that's going to be born from the woman. That's a whole nother topic that's discussed in the book.
I was
And again, all of
both.
this is very intricate. And hopefully I recalled
In my 20s.
all of this information and details accurately. And if I didn't, I'm sorry. It's very difficult for me to keep all of this straight in my head.
I can imagine. Holy fucking shit, man. Holy shit. Well, that was something, huh? It was like such a bait and switch too, because I swear to fuck, they like switched. They it's like they started with it like having stock footage and stuff. And then all of a sudden it goes to like that one shot of the guy in the chair, and then it just stayed. It never left again. It was just forever. So thank you so much for watching. And stay logical but loving, and skeptical but compassionate. And we'll see you next time.